Hello ladies and gentlemen, Sigvalgrim here and welcome to the Injustice 2 Mobile Rewind. Today we take a look at everything that happened in the year 2020 in Injustice 2 Mobile, and after we do that we're going to ask the question, did Injustice 2 Mobile enter 2021 a better game than it entered 2020? So, with all that being said, if you enjoy the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's get into it. The first major event happened in 2020 was the refactor of Deadshot and Harley Quinn, getting the start up to the Suicide Squad team. Those works were great things to be introduced in the game because there were reworks and they benefited the players who already had the characters. It was not like they introduced a new premium legendary character that you had to spend tons of gems to get and even more to get their gears. But unfortunately, this rework made them characters that are amazing for Arena and Champions Arena. And unfortunately, at the very least, in my humble opinion, Arena and Champions Arena are two modes that are easy enough so you don't have to build characters towards them. And their team was incomplete because you had just two characters because the third one was yet to be introduced, and we're going to get into that one. Next up, we got Suicide Squad Enchantress introduced into the game, a brand new character to fill up the third empty spot in the Suicide Squad team and to topple up into some amazing team synergies. And this team is going to be one of the best, if not the best teams in Arena and Champions Arena, but unfortunately they didn't really find a place into raids and later on soul raids, so that makes them a team that a very small percentage of the player base will enjoy because they don't have a reason to strive towards. So while I'm very happy about the fact that they reworked all their characters, overall this team didn't really have much of a purpose in the game. With that being said, let's move on. The next so-called big event was the 3-year anniversary that happened in May, and we got some events, we got some rare arena characters introduced, we got some chests. It could have been better, but it wasn't too bad. So let's move on. And in June, ladies and gentlemen, we got a huge piece of content dropped on the game. The last game mode introduced in the game was like a year or more than a year ago being CA, and that game mode was, in my opinion, not very successful and not very many people enjoyed it. But this year they introduced something called Soul Raids, which will be an event that you'll basically play raids but without your league, and your progress will save after you do it. But we already know what Soul Raid is, and this introduced a new, fresh mode to the game. This brought new life into the game, this brought some rewards into the game, this brought some more gems for each and every player, and it came with a few bugs that eventually got fixed. It came with a lot of new artifacts that sparked up a lot of new playstyles that you can use all around the characters, and some of the artifacts fundamentally changed the way we play the game with some certain teams or the way we build some characters. And yeah, overall, even though it was very buggy at launch, it eventually got fixed, and Soul Raids, the Apocalypse Soul Raids at the very least, became one of the best updates of the years introduced in the game by far. And on top of that, the new artifacts were actually all good, unlike something that we'll talk about later, and it was just an interesting concept to explore overall, and looking back to it, after all the fixes were done and after everything was fixed, after we didn't have any more unusual gameplay happening, then Soul Raids was a great update. But with that being said, let's move on. Next major event took place all the way to October, and it was the release of Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter being a character that was kind of requested by the player base to be introduced in the game because they made a poll on their official Discord server. Even though Raven was the most voted character and Martian Manhunter was in the second place, it's to be appreciated that it was a player choice. What's not to be appreciated, it's yet again that it's another legendary character that's hard to get and that you will need to either spend 20k or 30k gems to get, and then on top to get his gears, and on top of that he's not even amazing in terms of raising stories, this being the most demanding modes for you to use characters. For that he's just maybe a little bit of a better, maybe a little bit of a worse Reverse Flash Force or Banshee, and other than that he's great in Arena and Champions Arena, but yet again I've said the problem with that. So overall, I'm happy they released Martian Manhunter, I'm happy they've added new content to the game, but I am unhappy of the way it was done. But yeah, with that being said, let's move to the next thing. At the same time, with the Martian Manhunter update, we got introduced to artifact chance effects, which are basically bonuses as the bonuses that you have on gears. And while this mechanic is very interesting, some of the bonuses that you have on the artifacts are fundamentally broken, unfortunately, and not in a good way. And on the other hand, they made the artifact reforges so rare that 95% of the player base didn't really get to experience or benefit from this update. And at the same time, we got introduced at the same time with the Martian Manhunter update to the most outrageous bug of the year, which got a lot of people very mad because the Batman Ninja team and the Multiverse team were not working properly due to some bugs, and this pissed off so many people. The next major thing was the introduction of the Golden Armor Wonder Woman. And as usual, a legendary character is going to be hard to get, and you'll need to either pay $10 or up to 40k gems to get her gears. And on top of that, she's an Arena and Champions Arena oriented character, and you know already how I feel about those things. And on top of that, as I've experienced myself with her, she's not the kind of Arena and CA character like Darkseid is, which works well from level 1. It's the type of character that really requires investments to make work. And on top of that, the thing that I personally really have a problem with is the fact that they marketed her with wings. In the character section she has wings, in the Super Moon she has wings, but when you play her in the battlefield, there are no wings to be seen. I don't know, it just feels like a premium price, non-premium character that was rushed to be introduced to market the upcoming movie. But nevertheless, with all being said, let's move on. And last but not least, the last thing we got introduced is going to be the Kryptonian Storage event, which is something that follows the pattern of the Apocalypse Storage event, and is going to pretty much function the same way, but with different bosses. And also new artifacts got introduced, but unfortunately, it just seems like the new Kryptonian Storage event that was introduced was more rushed than the Apocalypse Storage and had not so much care put into it. And at the same time, the new artifacts that they were introduced, don't get me wrong, there's some amazing artifacts being introduced in amongst them, but at the same time there's a lot of crappy artifacts, making it unappealing for you to want to buy them with real money, and there being yet no chest that has a chance to drop you with the new artifacts being introduced. The only way, if you're not going to pay real money for them, is going to be to randomly get them from the soul rate rewards. And I don't know how that one is working out for you guys, but for me it's not working well. But yeah, with that being said, this was everything for this year, and let's try to draw some conclusions. So overall, I can say that I'm pretty happy with 2021. Like, I think in this year, the game received the most amount of updates that it has ever received. Well, maybe except for the first year of the game, but it really seems like they are starting to care a little bit more about the game. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like they are starting to care more about the player base, but only the game itself. And I don't know how it will happen with soul raids. My concern is that they just keep piling in more and more soul raid events like they do with Mortal Kombat, just to milk some money for new and new artifacts required to play them. It remains to be seen though, nevertheless, but overall, getting past all the bugs, all the scummy behaviors to get our money, 2020 was one of the better years for Injustice 2 Mobile. And with that being said, hopefully we'll have a better 21. Hopefully the game will have a better 2021. And with that being said, thank you for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.